Is this the Rookie CEO podcast?
Yeah, I think we're in the right place.
Oh, Hev, it's recording. This is Fuzz.
And I'm Hev, and you're listening to the Rookie CEO podcast. Welcome back to the Rookie CEO podcast. We're on our own today. We're just the two of us, so
Me and you, baby. We got this.
Something that we have implemented now is we're asking every guest to leave a question for the next guest. I don't know who the next guest is, and the question can be anything. Weird, wacky, insightful, humble.
Let's just be honest. This wasn't this was not something that you came up with yourself. It's not original.
No.
Apparently, we've stolen this, but without knowing.
No, yeah, so I'm not claiming this as an original idea. Or we thought it was an original idea, but then when we said it to your video team, they were like, oh, is that from so-and-so? And I was like, no, it's not.
No.
So it was an original idea, but someone else is doing it. But anyway, we proceed. So I have got a list. We've been doing a lot of filming today, so I've got a long list of questions that our guests have given other guests and they've answered. So we're going to run through that list and we're going to answer them ourselves.
This is like a little special episode.
Yeah, a little bit of a nugget of just breaking
behind the scenes. Hev and Fuzz and Hev.
So let's start with, what is your favourite podcast?
What is my favourite podcast?
Apart from this one, obviously.
This one is my favourite. I've not listened to an episode.
I have. I listen to this podcast.
Of course,
quite a lot.
I edit them. They're in my brain constantly. That is one thing about, because it's my voice. I'm just constantly listening to my voice. I don't know how people live their lives with my voice.
Whenever I listen to this back, I never sound how I think I sound.
No.
Which
You've
is
got a really annoying voice, actually.
It's quite soft. Anyway, what's your favourite podcast?
So I listen to two. I actually listen to two religiously. A nice mixture. One's self-development and one is just entertaining. Parenting Hell. I've been listening to Parenting Hell since Ted was born, so 4 years, my son. And I've been listening to the Mindset Mentor now for 7 years. Rob Dahl, amazing coach, amazing mindset coach. Honestly, if anyone listening is going through something in their life, anything mindset related whatsoever, there's an episode for it on Mindset Mentor.
Amazing. So I use podcasts as a bit of an escape, I think. A bit of an escapism. So mine are quite silly. So I listen religiously twice a week to Shameless podcast, and their tagline is for smart people who love dumb stuff. And they basically just go all through all the pop culture news, scandal, celebrity gossip, and I lap it up and I love it. But they're like journalists from Melbourne, and so they actually give like really like educated takes on celebrity gossip. So that's why it's for smart people who love dumb stuff. And
it's just a podcast heat magazine. That sounds
it's great. And then I also, well, I don't really listen to it anymore. I used to love the Staying Relevant podcast with Pete Wicks and Sam Thompson.
Yeah.
Where they just talked about being famous. But I don't listen to that one as much anymore. I don't know why particularly, but yeah. I don't know if it's because I drive less now.
You do drive a lot less now.
Yeah, I drive a lot less now. So I only really have time for one podcast, and that's normally Shameless.
Love that.
Okay, so the next one. This one's a bit deeper. We're going to flip between deep and silly.
Oh, wow.
So, why do you do what you do? What is your purpose?
I'll let you answer this one first.
So, in terms of Rookie, I do this because I love marketing, but I just love helping. Love helping people. I love, like, when someone come up to me at Rookie and said one sentence that we'd said had mean that they made £4,000. Like, I love the impact we can have on people through Rookie. And I think probably my own business will develop more into kind of the consulting and coaching side at some point in the future. But in terms of kind of my day-to-day HW marketing studio, I love doing what I do because I love taking someone who's not interested in content, not interested in marketing, and letting them see all the possibilities, and that they don't have to work much harder to get them. Like, they just need to kind of delve deep into their audience, and they can create so much and get so much back from it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think the purpose changes. I think it evolves. Like, obviously, when we started the business, the purpose was really affordable support for small businesses. It wasn't actually marketing. It was like trying to automate stuff where people just didn't know where to start. Like, even AI now, even though it's so accessible and it can play such a big part in businesses, people still don't know how it works, and I really wanted to offer that. And I was originally, and then as it evolved, we just started focusing more on exposure for businesses, making sure that they're fully, people know who they are and what they stand for. And I got really into that, and my entire life I've been a videographer, like as a hobby. So once I included that in the mix, I just realised actually we're kind of growing a digital marketing agency here. And I've always had a passion for coaching. I've always been like a leader with the businesses that I had before. So when the Rookie CEO came up, 2024 now, which is crazy, just 2 years ago, that is mental.
Wow.
I saw that as an opportunity to really start showing my training and coaching side. So I'm really excited. I think my purpose with the Rookie CEO, which is kind of already happening, is like to mentor businesses that are kind of like just starting out and what we know, which is obviously like marketing. The dopamine hit I get from supporting businesses is crazy. Like I think most of this week alone, I've actually just spent supporting other businesses for free, which is not good for business. But I just love it.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day actually. So, one of my first clients in the self-employed world, they were a coach holiday company. I first started with them. They had one coach. 2.5 years later, I think they've got 4 coaches and 2 minibuses. Wow. And the only marketing they do is their website, email marketing, and a Facebook page. But that Facebook page is so engaged. Yeah. They've got such a community. They've got a good following because they knew their target audience. They knew their target audience was over 55s. They're on Facebook. They haven't even set up an Instagram because we know there's no point. Yeah. So it's just kind of helping a business understand their audience and not spend money on the wrong things. I think that's probably my purpose. Okay, now to break that up, a silly one. What is your favourite cheese?
What's my favourite cheese?
Mine is...
I think Ben asked this from your video too.
Mine is a really mature cheddar that's really crumbly.
So I'm not a massive fan of cheese.
Oh, I love
crumbly cheese. I cannot stand.
If I want a snack, I will love a bit of mature cheddar with honey.
Just I didn't realise you were a snob.
It's delicious.
I will just happily take mature cheddar on a cracker with a can of Coke.
With a can of Coke.
You can't have cheese without Coke or beer or wine.
Maybe wine. Okay. So, what is the best way you calm your nerves?
That's a great question. The reason why I laughed is because like I used to overthink this about 4 or 5 years ago, and this was weirdly because of the Mindset Mentor actually taught me this, and I programmed it. And I think you sometimes hear me do like big sighs in the office when actually I'm just doing breathing exercises, but I do it now unconsciously because I've been doing it for so long. Like breathing obviously plays a massive part in your nervous system. But one thing that I also programmed, and this was probably about 20 years ago when I had a lot of anxiety, was just to you have to rewire where nerves are actually excitement. So because your body goes through exactly the same changes. So instead of telling yourself and manifesting, oh, I'm nervous, and that negative energy, just convince yourself that you're excited. And that's the reason why like I'm constantly just on. Because it is anxiety, but you just convince yourself that it's excitement and you ride the roller coaster.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's a hard one. I still think I'm still at the stage when I'm learning how to calm nerves. I don't necessarily know if I've got the answers yet, but I think for me, it's kind of reducing the nerves in a way that I don't go to things unless it's a hell yes. Yeah. And so if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And by implementing that before I've even got somewhere, normally if it's a hell yes, I'm not nervous when I'm there because I knew every part of me wanted to be there and I'm excited. Yeah. So I think for me, it's maybe not putting obviously, sometimes you have to be uncomfortable and get comfortable being uncomfortable. But there's certain scenarios that if you feel nervous and you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Yeah,
I do. Obviously, there's some things that you can't turn down these opportunities. Yeah, of course. But I think there's a difference with excited nerves and I'm anxious, I don't want to be here nerves. And I think people maybe confuse the two of those.
you should be excited with your nerves because you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone, but you know there's potential to do something.
There's loads of different ways of like, loads of different sort of like descriptions of when you're nervous, I guess. Because I think a lot of people might confuse nervous for like not feeling like you should be there.
Yeah.
Like imposter syndrome style. And I think that just comes from confidence. And there's loads of ways you can build
it's self-doubt,
confidence.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Next
one.
question.
If you could be a biscuit, what kind of biscuit would you be?
Who asked this?
Caroline Hallett from the Kent
Oh,
Foundation.
wow. Cheese and biscuits, baby. Biscuit. I think you can answer this one first.
If I could be a biscuit, I think I'd be a party ring. Not because I necessarily like partying, but because they're fun, don't take themselves too seriously.
You answered that way too quickly.
Are they an adult biscuit? Are they a child snack?
No. They're a child snack.
No, I like a party ring.
Yeah, a child snack.
I think I'd be a party ring.
Okay, cool.
Also, they're a bit like light and airy.
I think I'm a hobnob. Hey Hev, have you heard of IT Manager Services? They're an IT support service based in Kent.
Yeah, I've been with them for over a year now. I love being able to just call them at any point and they take over my computer and fix the issue so much quicker than spending hours on Google.
Why have you kept that to yourself all this time? Right, I need to sign up to these guys. What's their website?
It's it-ms.co.uk or you can call 01634 218 362.
A hobnob, why?
Because I'm quite tough.
Because you're a knob.
That next question. No, thanks for that. Called out in the middle of a podcast episode.
Sorry, no, please tell me why.
The reason being, I think, is because like hobnobs, like they're dunkers, aren't they? You could leave that in a cup of tea for quite a while.
No, because a hobnob gets soggy and then crumbles.
No.
If you want a dunker, it's a rich tea.
No, rich teas crumble and they melt.
No.
Hobnob's like the submarine of the tea world. You could keep dumping. The thing is, that's what I'm like. The reason why I'm like a hobnob is because like, you keep dunking me, and I'd be fine. But then when I crumble, I do crumble, and I think you've seen me crumble a couple of times.
Yeah, I kind of feel maybe I'm the same, actually.
Oh, you're a hobnob? Or you're just a knob?
Right. So, moving on. How would people describe you in 5 years if you weren't around?
Describe me in 5 years from now, I guess. Let's just say I died.
Yeah, so 5 years from now, you're not around for whatever reason. How would people describe you?
He thought it was funny. See, you laughing at that. You agree with me?
I would like to think people describe...
No. I was being realistic. You're being realistic as well.
I'm being realistic.
Don't go, I'd like to think.
No,
I'd like to think people loved me.
No, I think I'd like to think that I made an impact of some sorts.
Yeah.
Whether that's helping people or whether that's I made a tit of myself, I would like to know that I've made some sort of positive impact.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like that's everyone's sort of like ego anyway, isn't it? If they want to be able to change the world.
It's actually weird. I was watching a serial killer thing on Netflix.
Because that's so relatable.
No, but it is. I trust me, keep watching because I am bringing it back. The whole thing with serial killers is obviously there's a very extreme way they do it, but it's all about their ego because they want to make an impact on society and they're not achieving it in a way. So in their head, that's how they're making an impact. So I'm not saying that we're all serial killers, but I think everyone...
Am I safe?
No, I think everyone has a desire to make an impact, whether that's positive, whether that's horrific and awful. It's what you do with your time on this earth. I know it's
preferably
really woo-woo.
positive
It's very
impact.
woo-woo. I think, it's very important what you do with your time because you're making an impact, but it's how you're making an impact.
I think you are. I think like I would like people to look back and think that I'm quite selfless because I genuinely do this. I genuinely support people without any intention to receive support back. And it's quite funny actually because when I met with someone on Monday to support with their business, we sat together for about an hour and a half going over their business plan, almost redoing the whole business. And then she goes, right, what do you need from me? And I'm like, oh, I don't need anything. I'll just wanted to help. She's just like, oh no, I've got to repay. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like one day, maybe it might. Yeah.
It's the dopamine, isn't it? It makes it worthwhile. Right. Next.
That's what they say about NHS workers, don't they? They're actually selfish. They just go in there for the dopamine.
Right. Next one. What is the biggest compliment someone can give you?
You can start this one.
I think the biggest compliment someone can give me would probably be that I cared. If I have made someone feel like I care about what they're saying or what they're doing.
Mine's stupid. Mine's...
What?
If they call me funny, if they say I'm funny, then that'll do me. Honestly, weirdly, I think it's just an ego thing. But obviously, I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So when someone says, "Oh, you're funny," I'm like, "Stop it."
To be fair, I do like it when people call me funny. But I also think my sense of humour is quite dry and not everyone gets it.
No, I get it, yeah. But what's nice that my communication coach is trying to come to there's no value, really, to being funny. And if you're trying to run a business and if you're trying to support others genuinely, you being funny isn't providing any value. It's just providing engagement. And it's finding that sort of like middle ground of you can use the little funny quips to get their engagement back. But actually, it's not providing any value. Focus more on what can you provide.
Yeah.
But I am just selfish and I want to be funny.
Okay, next one. If someone could take away one of your fears, what fear would you let go of?
I think that I'm genuinely terrified of heights. And that does hold me back. Even though I still do stuff, like I've jumped out of planes. But believe it or not, like I get panic attacks from being at the top of blue water.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm terrified of heights.
Wow.
So I would love for that to stop.
What do you think that's holding you back from doing? Do you think that's holding you back from doing anything?
My son. I
Really?
feel like I'm putting my fear into him.
Oh, interesting.
That's probably a separate fear, I guess. But yeah, I don't want him to catch like a fear that he shouldn't have to catch. Like, to be fair, we are born with two fears naturally: loud noises and heights. So it's hard to like falling and loud noises is like a natural fear when we're born with. So it is a natural fear, but mine's quite intense.
Yeah, I think my fear would probably be, I would like someone to take the weight. Probably, obviously, I'm 27, haven't started a family or anything yet. My fear would be I wouldn't be able to maintain what I've built if I wanted to, start a family or do something, or like progress with my personal life. Which I don't.
Even though you've seen me do this,
I think men probably have it to an extent, but it's more of like we've got to make money to provide. I think with a woman, there's more pressure on. Well, you're going to need to be present.
That is definitely a deeper episode to talk about. I completely understand. Yeah, because it's crazy. Because my wife, and when I met her,
because it's expected for men to go back to work. It's not always for women.
Yeah. But when I met my wife properly, and I found out she was a lawyer and all this stuff, like weirdly, and this is probably a selfish thing to say publicly, that my head was like, right, at some point I'm going to be the house husband. I'll be the stay-at-home dad, and I accepted that, and I was really happy with that.
Yeah.
But when it came around to it, she was like, no, actually, she wanted to stay home, and and I'm like, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I think
this is something we're going to have to get an expert in to unpack more. Actually, I think it's a whole topic in itself. It's like, how do you have a business and start a family? Because that's something. Who tells you how the hell to juggle newborns and running a business?
We need to get a speaker at Rookie CEO to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's an amazing subject. Note that down whilst you got your phone out.
Yeah. Right. I'll write it down as you answer this next question.
Okay.
What is the biggest failure you've learnt from?
Biggest failure, and I hate to use the word failure, so I'm gonna word it as opportunity, if that's okay. The biggest opportunity that I've learned from is definitely the business that I was running, that I was actually employed. The business failed, and the biggest milestone, the trigger point of why it failed, really was just poor leadership from the business owner aspect, and I went on paternity leave for 4 weeks. That literally was like the reason. But I could see how not to run a business, and that sounds so egotistic to say, but I could see how easy it is to mess up when you're not putting the work in as a business owner. Like, I see so many business owners nowadays just thinking that they don't actually have to be part of the business, when they should still be setting a standard until the business grows enough to then have a CEO in place to then redo setting the standard. If you've got somebody below you who isn't seeing you enough in the business, they're still looking up to you. So if you're walking up to work at middle of the day, and you know, people are seeing you do that, they're going to start following those footsteps. So, like, I learned so much from that.
Yeah. I think mine was, I spent the first maybe 2 years of my business not having any boundaries with clients. And it's something I'm having to unpick now. And so I would reply instantly, I'd reply way out of hours, I'd work weekends rather than just, you know, getting into work a little bit early during the week to make sure I'd caught up. I had no kind of shut off from work ever, which led me to being in the hospital with stress and burnout and all that kind of stuff. So if I could go back and kind of teach anyone else, if they're starting out, I would say set a precedence as you mean to go on. Even if that means you're slower taking on clients, it's better to build slow and gradual with kind of the values and expectations in place that you want for 10 years' time in place at the start than it is to start one way and then have to unpick it.
And if you're listening and you're a lot more sort of process driven, look at it from this way: build your business not for the clients that you want to get today, build your business for clients that you need to get to make a living. So don't just go, oh, like I made this mistake, and I think you pointed it out in a previous episode where, like, I was first of all advertising like a 24-hour turnaround on like photos and stuff. I'm like, no, because if I'm juggling 30 clients, how am I going to manage that? So don't start, you're just trying to please everyone on day one, and you do end up shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Right, final question to round us off then. If you could look back now in 5 years' time as to who you are now, so it's you 5 years' time looking back at you now, what would you class as a success as you are now?
A success would be to be honest with you, I think it's just being able to build a team that have bought into a brand that you haven't employed. Like, that's why I say you, I don't know how, but I've managed to build a brand where people are just genuinely proud to be part of, and they're not being forced to be part of it because they're not actually employed. And they're not even really on a retainer, like, properly. They're not, like, signed up to any contract. They can leave whenever they want. But they decide to wear the hoodies. They decide to represent the brand. And that, I take that for granted. And I do need to remind myself and reflect nicely on that. Yeah. So that's my, but you?
I think for me, it's probably the fact I have built the business to the point it's at now and the revenue it makes with just me and some admin support. I think if I'd had my time again, I'm not sure I'd be able to do it all over again. But I think that's probably a success that when I'm looking, I'm like, it's just me.
Yeah.
And like, I've got Claire and Sophie who help me with the admin side of it, and I think I can see progressing down the future, taking on more people to help and basically train to be me. But I think I'm like, wow, okay, if I can do this with just me in this 2.5 years, what could I do with more help now?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that probably is a success. And probably surviving last year.
Last year was intense.
Last year was just horror. In a business sense, fantastic. But, yeah, just kind of surviving burnout and coming out the other side of it. And if anything, I came out of burnout with a business that was doing even better. Because I'd kind of set a precedent of how I was going to respond and opened up my mind, so I had space to think again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Right, thank you so much for listening. I'm hoping you guys got something out of that. Or
even if that's just you saved it for a long car journey.
Yeah. Right, we'll see you guys next week in the next episode of The Rookie CEO.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.